Guys, this is something that just kind of blows my mind, as we're only 9 days into this year, and I guess natural disasters don't know our conceptions of time, but man, it feels a little early for this, don't you think? LA is currently being surrounded and consumed with an inferno that is only getting worse. More fires are breaking out and joining the big wildfire wall. Many houses have been burnt. I think about 6 people are confirmed dead, but you gotta keep in mind these are actively burning fires, which means that there is a good chance that we're not gonna have an accurate death toll until weeks from now, where it could quickly shoot up to hundreds or thousands of people dead or missing. This is not a good situation. I heard about the fires the other night, and I was like, there's fires in LA? I mean, what else is new? How serious is it? Is anyone hurt? And at the time, I don't believe anyone had been hurt. I was like, okay, well, they're probably going to put that out. And it was late at night, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. I didn't really think much of the story, but by the time I woke up yesterday, it was a big fucking news. And friends of mine in LA were posting on social media pictures out their windows of, like, fucking Mordor coming from over the it looks like looking over the fucking mountains in Lord of the Rings and seeing Mount Doom, like, lighting up the clouds red. Like, that is how it looks over the hills out of their windows, and it is some terrifying imagery. Actually, I had a image I wanted to show you from the sky. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched the TV show Supernatural. It's one of my favorite shows. I grew up on that shit. But the actor who plays Castiel in Supernatural, Misha Collins, I follow him on Instagram, and he was taking a flight out of LA last night when the fires were at their peak, and he took a picture and posted it on Instagram, and this is the picture he posted. That doesn't... I feel like this picture right here might be the best one I've seen so far that puts into perspective how bad this is. And to be very clear with you, that's one of the fires. That's the one that's on the coast, like a little bit, I think, south of Malibu. So this is only one of said fires. This gives you some perspective on what I'm talking about here. This is, it looks like it looks like how the Earth looks at the start of Doom Eternal. You are absolutely right, Audio Torre. Like, I was thinking, God, what does this remind me of? Doom Eternal intro. Who remembers the shot of the Earth at the start of Doom Eternal? Yeah, here. This is how it looks, bro. This is how it looks. That's not good. That's very, very not good. It should not look like demons are invading the planet in one of the most populated cities in our country. That's not good. Anyway, I've got the news here for you. Thousands of structures burned to the ground in LA fire. I'll likely be including some links to organizations raising money for mutual aid and relief funds for people who have lost their homes or loved ones due to these fires. I know that there's a few people I'm aware of who have been vetting and posting and supporting some of these groups, so I'll probably go ahead and just drop them in the pinned comment of this when this goes out as a video on its own. But in the meantime, let's find out why these folks could use your help, because there's going to be a lot more added to that group in not too long. Like, these fires are only getting worse. People keep saying they think it's arson, and I have to admit, I'm not generally conspiratorially minded, but I, and like everyone I've spoken to, also feels like, no evidence to clarify, but feels like it's arson. Like, I haven't seen the info that contradicts that, though I doubt there would be any evidence for or against that at this point. But, like, I'm not the only one clearly who's gotten this vibe, um, uh, that like this is some kind of arson situation. Highly speculative. Yeah, no evidence whatsoever. Borderline conspiratorial. Anyway, like I said, let's get a closer look at this destruction, because it is a lot worse when you look at it up close. God, that first image, Jesus Christ.
It's shocking video showing the absolute devastation in the Pacific Palisades. The footage reveals mile after mile of scorched earth where beautiful homes once existed.
The devastation is complete and just jaw-dropping.
Officials now say thousands of...
Well, I feel that before we continue, the elephant in the room must be acknowledged. We all know why this happened. We do. We all know. Climate change. Climate change has substantially, well, not even just climate change, but human intervention has substantially impacted the climate of Southern California in a lot of bad ways over the years. A big one was diverting and continuously draining the Colorado River. Like, there was so much glacial melt that once used to fill that, like, basin where the Salton Sea is, provided so much more water and greenery to that region. And over the last couple hundred years, due to human activity, we have turned the Southern California region into a dust bowl. You guys realize that like 200 years ago, a little less than that, like surprisingly recently, the high desert and Palm Springs region of California was not like a arid, dry desert like it is now. And the Salton Sea was a much larger, like, wetter, region in that low-lying valley of Southern California that allowed for more rain distribution and waterfall throughout the entire region. That's not even getting into the effects of just broader global climate change on that area, which was already a delicate environment to begin with. And now they have shortages on water. It does not rain enough, which means everything is dry. And on top of that, while I did speculate this could have been done by arson, what's honestly more likely, and I'm going to give us a bit of a throwback to how long ago was this? I lived in California when I covered this. Zanderhall, CA wildfires. Well, that one is my most recent. That's today's segment. Well, I can't find it. And aboard. Anyway, a while ago, I did a segment when I lived in California about a previous bout of coastal California wildfires. And obviously there's been one started by gender reveal parties, and that's become a meme. But what tends to start them, apparently, and has been a serial cause of these fires getting started, is power lines and power infrastructure. The company that services the west coast of California in SoCal, all along that region around LA, is called PG&E. And they are basically one of the shittiest power companies you can imagine. They have deliberately allowed their infrastructure to rot, and when power infrastructure rots, decays, and eventually malfunctions, it can cause a spark that can start a fire. And under normal circumstances, forests can kind of handle fire on their own, like generally, like they're supposed to be able to just not completely get burned away by one single spark. But due to our impact on the climate and the far, far drier tinder available than normal, we cause these massive whooshes. And hell, wildfires are normal to some extent. There's always going to be wildfires. There's a lot of pines in California, which tells you enough about how those, how much wildfires there's supposed to be there. Wherever there's pines, there's generally supposed to be wildfires for their reproduction. But when you've got people living in those areas, a natural wildfire is also a problem. Regardless, climate change can really be rooted back to as the cause for a lot of this stuff. And all the while, as we fight and try our best, we try our damnedest to get anything done to try and combat this, to try and secure a safe future for the planet and for humanity, the Republicans deflect. And you want to know who they're blaming for this? They're blaming Joe Biden, of course. But on top of that, they're blaming Californians. If you have read the comments on any live stream news report about this story, it is just a wall of people saying that this is divine punishment by God killing Californians for being woke and not voting for Trump. They believe that this is divine punishment from God for not voting Trump. As you can imagine, when Donald Trump takes office, when more disasters hit these areas that did not vote enough for Trump, you know that he's going to withhold support. He already did it back in I think it was 2019, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did it in 2019 or early 2020 when the fires originally happened in California from the PG&E lines that were malfunctioning. Donald Trump actively tried to cut off recovery funding to California because he literally admitted because not enough Californians voted for him. I think the quote from him was, you don't vote, your people don't vote for me, you don't get federal funding for me. I think it was a quote like that. Like, you're not going to get help from me if you don't vote for me. It was very, very smarmy and shitty. Exactly the kind of behavior to expect from him, though.
Structures have burned to the ground. Today, the Pacific Palisades is still on fire. The frustration, of course, is for firefighters. It's like a giant game of whack-a-mole. You never know where the fire is going to hopscotch. Hours ago, this house was fine, but it caught fire this morning. The entire house was decimated by flames. Dramatic footage.
It's worth noting, fires are super weird. Apparently, like, a bed sheet could catch in a certain way, where, in the wind or with the heat of the billowing flame, where it could go, like, a flaming bed sheet could go flying out of a window, soar across the sky in the wind, like a good 100, 200 feet, land on top of someone's house in an area that was completely untouched by the fire, and start a whole new blaze. It could fly half a mile or a whole mile and start a whole new blaze. And there's like countless little bits of debris that could totally catch the wind, and they're like burning, which sometimes makes things kind of float a little more and catch the wind better. And that's how more fires are probably sparking up in other areas, to be honest with you. It's called spotting. I see. I knew that there was a term for it. I just didn't know what it was called. But yeah, like these little... Like, it's kind of like a hot air balloon effect. Bits of fiery debris will get launched into the air, I should say floated into the air, and they'll fall elsewhere, and it's a problem.
Footage shows a cliffside home engulfed in towering flames. It's a total loss. But less severe wind conditions did allow firefighters to finally gain the upper hand, launching water drops from helicopters to save the heart of Hollywood. Fury is growing today over the lack of water supply that has hindered firefighters as they battle fires around Los Angeles.
Our neighbor's house.
Can I show you guys a video that puts into perspective just how fucking brave firefighters are? Like how absolutely, unless you are a literal volunteer firefighter or ex-military in chat right now, none of you or myself have the balls to do what these people do. They are absolute heroes. GoPro Firefighter. Let me show you this video. This guy, let me show you how badass firefighters are. Like, if you think you could be a firefighter, you have to be as badass as the guy whose POV we watch in this video. Like, one thing you can't even imagine is how much it hurts to breathe being, like, within 20 feet of the blazes that are happening in these neighborhoods in California. If you've ever, like, had the wind catch a campfire and blow the smoke in your face for a second, it feels like you're like, oh my god, what, did I just get gas grenaded? What the fuck? Like, it feels like torture, like you can't stand it. That is all there is to breathe in an environment like this. Obviously he's wearing a respirator, but people who are in this situation and don't have one, it's not just the flames that are in the heat. That's the concern. Like, you can hardly breathe in these situations. It's terrifying. But thank God Like when we talk about firefighters being heroes, I hope that GoPro video puts into perspective just how brave they are, because it's like literally running into hell.
House is going up. We're going up. There's no water.
This homeowner is irate as he records his house going up in flames while his 84-year-old father and his daughter try to douse the fire with a garden hose. Suddenly, he says, the water stops.
There's no water. I can't save my house.
He tried his best, but the water literally stopped. Not one fire truck.
Today, I found out.
You know what's going to happen, by the way? This is part of Donald Trump's conspiracy, is he's going to claim that Gavin Newsom shut off people's water so they couldn't stop the fires in their homes. I guarantee you they're going to claim that.
Actor Steve Guttenberg with a shovel, putting out hot spots on his neighbor's property. When I grabbed a hose to help, I discovered no water.
Well, there's no water. Steve, there's no water.
Was the water turned off recently, or is it just no pressure?
There's no water at all up here.
At a press conference, LA's Mayor Karen Bass was hit with a barrage of questions about reports of fire hydrants running out of water.
The water problems are a little better now because the winds are such that we can go up and have the air support. And you know that that was the reason that the devastation was so bad, the unprecedented wind.
Holy shit, look at those, like, 4 houses that made it out.
Devastation was so bad, the unprecedented.
Look at those 2 houses. Those 2 houses right there. I hope whatever companies are responsible for those 2 houses' construction, they're probably going to have a lot of advertising material to work with. Like, all the houses surrounding are burnt, but these 2, that was built by our company. Oh, that is fucking awful, though. I joke, but mostly because it's just sad, and there needs to be a little bit of balance to the sad. Look at that, dude. People keep saying it looks like Fallout, and you're not wrong. It really does. It really... I keep not wanting to, like, make that comparison, but it really does look like Fallout. This is apocalyptic. Look how many homes that is. Like, this is all, like, families.
Unprecedented wind.
Good God, dude. It looks like they were nuked. Yeah, dude, it's horrific, man. And obviously it gets worse. This is from even more recently. An update on the shocking damage from the LA wildfires.
They are apocalyptic scenes. The battle continues to get a handle on deadly wildfires that are burning out of control in California. Let's bring in Lee Waldman, who's in the Pacific Palisades area. And Lee, we have been watching this unfold with absolute horror here in Canada. Now, we understand that some victories have been made, but this battle is far from over.
Cynthia, here in the Pacific Palisades, officials today saying it looks like a bomb was dropped, and you can see for yourself, it's very clear. It's hard to even tell what some of these businesses were aside from the signs left behind. This apparently...
Next Guy 3 says they're close to the fires. Stay safe. If you're anyone local to these fires, please stay safe. Obviously, there's a chance that if it hasn't already, your water is going to go out, so start bottling it up. Like, full-on engage zombie apocalypse mode. Like, everything that you know about how to, like, prepare for day 1 of the zombie apocalypse, like, start kicking those plans into gear. Get a bug-out bag ready, because for all you know, the whole city could end up burning down from this. We don't know how this is going to go. The whole city could literally burn, and that could include where you are. So have a bug-out bag ready. Have your pets... Like if you have crates for your pets that they can be immediately put into for quick transport into a vehicle for, like, immediate emergency evacuation, have those ready and by the door. Because the last thing you want is to have to, like, stumble around finding a crate for your pet, for your dog or your cat, and it's like, we need to go now, the fire is coming, and you have to, like, search around and search your closets to find the crates. Save water. I recommend, if you have running water, bottle up as much water as you can and take your water bottles and put them in the freezer and start freezing the water bottles. There's a lot of uses that ice is going to have, and frozen water bottles take a while to melt, like a long while to melt. And in a situation like this, there's 100 uses you are going to find for ice and frozen water bottles. From the water itself to the actual cold, it's going to be something you want if worst case scenario happens. So just start preparing. Are they providing shelter for people who've lost their homes? Almost certainly FEMA will be doing that, yeah. Remember, Biden is still president until the 20th, so Biden is doing everything in his power right now to give California the funds that it needs irreversibly, because Trump has been promising to reverse anything that Biden does to help Los Angeles. So Biden is trying to ensure that Trump can't undo what he's going to do to help LA.
It used to be a Taekwondo studio. You can hardly tell. People who live in this neighborhood were thanking us for being here. They told us their homes are no longer standing. We're starting to get an estimate about how much damage was caused by these fires. JP Morgan Chase estimates $50 billion worth of damage.
That's a lot of money worth of damage, but a little more concerned about the, like, what is it now, 6 people confirmed dead? And that's just so far. We haven't really gotten into the investigating and finding bodies and figuring out who's missing stage yet.
Today, we expect winds to subside somewhat, which will allow fire crews to increase containment lines.
Los Angeles County officials celebrating any break in the high winds Thursday.
I was moving my camera so I wouldn't be covering up the interpreter.
Air operations are continuing rapidly in the Palisades, in Sylmar, and across our region.
Aerial water drops since last night gave fire crews an edge over a few of the smaller wildfires.
Woodley fire, the size 30 acres. Containment, fully contained. Next, the Sunset fire, which is in the Runyon Canyon area. Forward progress. The crews are working to...
Just look at that.
The Sunset fire, which is in the Runyon Canyon area. Forward progress. The crew...
It looks like lava. Dude. It looks like lava, the way it's like spilling down the side of that hill. It looks like a volcanic eruption there. Like the pictures that I was sent from a friend out of their window, the sky, like it like the, oh my god, hold on. I don't think... Let me see. Can I find that one crazy image I saw on Twitter today? Someone posted this on Twitter today. Dude, this one. The air quality in LA right now, bro, I don't even know. I don't even know what it, like, it must just be so bad they don't even have, like, a quantity for how bad it is. Look at this, dude. I saw this picture on Twitter today, bro. The sun is blood red through the ash. Because those aren't clouds, that's ash. And so when the sun shines through it, it's blood red. It looks like Fear the Walking Dead promotional material for season 1. Literally hell A, dude.
Crews are working to put out spot fires within the perimeters.
Another blaze, the Lydia fire, reported around 40% contained as of midday. But the battle remains daunting and dangerous on other fire fronts.
It is safe to say that the Palisades fire is one of the most destructive natural disasters in the history of Los Angeles.
The Palisades and Eaton fire.
Chat. This is why you have to change the batteries in your fire alarm. When you hear your fire alarm chirp, it's chirping for a reason. Change the damn batteries.
Fires, the 2 largest, still burning. Nearly 180,000 people in the fire zones forced to evacuate. Tens of thousands of acres destroyed so far and climbing. And the death toll is expected to rise as burned areas are searched. Additionally, thousands of people left with virtually nothing.
Now that we have the presidential disaster declaration, we will...
I keep seeing people occasionally saying, like, these are wealthy LA residents, like, who gives a fuck, they're rich. No. Listen, I've been to LA. it is very nice there. Like, the majority of the housing is expensive, and, you know, it's nice because of that expense, don't get me wrong. But the majority of people there, even if they're making a good income, because of the cost of living, they're basically still living paycheck to paycheck, even if they're living in a part of the country that's very nice and very expensive. And they might make a lot more money than you do, but they're not living a higher quality of life than you are. They're not, like, wealthy for where they live. So the majority of these people who have been displaced are not, like, wealthy Hollywood actors, of which some have been. Like, there have been some pretty wealthy celebrities who lost their mansions in these fires, but the majority of people who've lost their homes have been normal, like, lower middle-class families who are just now fucked. That I don't, like, they're going to need federal support. Thankfully, Biden's going to provide it. But it's kind of scary to think that very soon Trump is going to be in charge of this kind of stuff.
We'll have people going into the communities. We'll start in the shelters because that's where we know people will be.
We're throwing everything at this that we possibly can, and we're going to move through this and continue to support one another.
The biggest difference today, we've heard planes flying overhead. They're attacking this thing from the sky, all of these fires, hoping to get some level of containment. Our team was at stores today getting additional PPE. We've saw people in the community doing the same. There's so much ash and smoke in the air. It's creating hazardous conditions all throughout Southern California, all because of these fires that are burning and the destruction that it's causing. Cynthia.
Now, Lee, we're hearing speculation that budget cuts to the LA Fire Department may have led to this disaster. What are you hearing about that?
Cynthia, that's a good question. It's something that the LA mayor...
Why is that ever a consideration? It always will be punished if you decide to divert budget from something important and valuable like that. It will always end up having consequences. Of course, yeah, of course they recently cut the firefighter budget. Of course they did.
Had addressed today at a press conference. She disputed those rumors. She said that these budget cuts are not adding to the destruction that these fires are causing. She said it's not making this situation any worse. It was almost a $17 million budget cut to the LA Fire Department. Now, previously, the LA Fire Chief had written that these fire budget cuts did adversely affect the department's ability to maintain their core operations like fire prevention and further exacerbated operational fire challenges. So that's where the speculation.
It's MAGA BS, the budget cuts. Is that not real? Fire Department LA budget cuts fact check. LA Fire Chief warned that $18 million budget cuts would affect response to large-scale emergencies. It's being blown out of proportion by MAGA. I don't know, guys. I think it's just the mayor of LA made a pretty L decision here. I'm sure MAGA has attacked... Like, MAGA will attack any real flaw they see in their enemy, and if none exists, they'll make them up. That doesn't mean that there aren't sometimes real flaws that they're pointing out. Their only goal is to win, and if they can win on an honest merit where it's possible, they'll do that, but generally they can't and they won't. So yeah, in this case, it seems like the fact that there were budget cuts to the fire department is a true thing, but I don't think it was like some deliberate move by the mayor of LA to like fuck over the people or something. That just seems like a pretty inept decision. Like, very, very bad. Who knows? Like, maybe if we go back and we look at, like, some previous months of articles, we'll find that, like, the mayor of LA had that money reallocated to a program that was, like, a very high popularity, high demand, like, requested more state funding and it was denied or something like that. Like, there's probably more to it than it was just budget cuts to the fire department, because fuck them. It probably isn't that simple, but we just don't know yet, like, why that happened and if it was... like, if there was any sense to it at the time. As for the budget cuts, it's not as crazy as it looks. There's a separate fund they used for a bunch of one-time equipment purchases. In aggregate, it's actually not an issue. Interesting. Fuck MAGA brain rot. All my homies hate MAGA brain rot. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Anyway, guys, this stuff is some depressing news. I'm not gonna lie. It's sad to see so many people losing their livelihoods and their homes. Back when I was doing the segments about the hurricanes in Florida, I obviously was able to connect pretty strongly with that situation because I lost my home when I was 16 to a hurricane, my childhood home. And it was a pretty traumatic experience. And you know, I think back to it to this day as like, man, if that hurricane just hadn't happened, you know, I'd probably still be able to go visit that house to this day and be able to kind of like be in the same place that has all those childhood memories, but it was fucked up by a hurricane. And it's very sad. It's like very depressing, you know? And I can kind of relate when I see all these people who've lost their homes to a fire that just comes out of nowhere and just flips their life upside down. It kind of strikes close to home for me. It's a level of, like, hurt that doesn't really go away. You would think, like, oh, but let's say in a week you had all your lost things replaced and you were set up in a new home and everything, you were fully recovered. It would still hurt, the experience of just your life going from fully normal to you've lost your home in a fire. Like, that alone is traumatic enough that it sticks with you. It'll give you nightmares. It does. So, like, there's a lot of hurt here that goes beyond just the physical damage and the lost lives. Even the people who survived, when they get their lives back together, even if they get their lives back together, I should say, there's going to be sort of a lingering pain from that. I was traumatized by a small fire in my house. I can't imagine losing my entire house, my entire city. My mom, when she was a kid, lost her home in a house fire. She used to tell me this story a lot when I was growing up. And, like, she still to this day apparently has bad dreams about that house fire. It is not the kind of thing that ever stops fucking with you. That kind of experience is like a level of trauma that people don't really think about, but it's uniquely detrimental. And, like, if anybody has ever had an experience with that kind of thing, by the way, I recommend you comment it as well, because I imagine that you can relate and that you can back this point up. With all that said, though, I really appreciate you all watching this segment. If you enjoyed it, then please consider hitting the like button and commenting down below and hitting the subscribe button. All three of those things are the best that you can do to support my channel. Not to mention, likes and comments are completely free, and they actually accumulate and compound to boost anything like my streams or my videos in the algorithm every time you guys do that. So keep it up. It really means a lot. It helps a ton, and I really appreciate it. And of course, follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, if you haven't already and you want to see more stuff from me on other platforms, including, of course, make sure to follow me on Blue Sky and join my fan Discord. And of course, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on, the roof above my head here at the Xanderhall Studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buy some merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.